Council's regular meeting. It is October 10th, 2018. It is 6:30 p.m., and I'd like to call this meeting to order. If you'd all please join me, we'll stand for a moment of silence, and we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Thank you. Councilor Tappan, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Madam Clerk, could you please do roll call?
Councilor Bryan.
Here.
Councilor McNutt.
Excused.
Councilor Tappan. Here. Councilor Cormier.
Here.
Councilor Warner.
Here.
Vice Mayor Kojin.
Here.
Mayor Dyak.
Here. First item of business on the council's agenda, priorities list, discussion and possible action by city council pertaining to city council strategic priorities. Anyone wish to bring up anything on our strategic priorities list? Seeing none. Discussion, possible action by city council pertaining to city councilors' individual priorities. Minutes, I would entertain.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously of those members present. Consent agenda. The consent portion of the agenda is a means of expediting routine matters that must be acted upon by council. All items approved will be done by one undebatable motion passed unanimously. Any item may be removed for debate on any request of any member of council. Items removed from the consent portion of the agenda become the first item of business under the regular agenda. I would like to remove from the consent agenda the proclamation, United States Navy 243rd anniversary. We have been making that a tradition as recognizing our armed services, and I would like to read that proclamation.
We approve the remaining portion of the consent portion of the agenda.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously of those members present. Public hearings, we have none scheduled this evening. Hear from the citizens. Hear from the citizens is a time reserved for the citizens to comment on non-agendized items that are within the council's jurisdiction. Personal attacks on council members, city staff, or members of the public are not allowed. It is inappropriate to utilize the time for purposes of making political speeches, including threats of political action. Persons speaking shall observe the rules of propriety, decorum, and good conduct, and refrain from impertinent topics, repetitive comments, slanderous remarks, or personal attacks. Engaging in such will be grounds for ending the speaker's time at the podium or for the removal of any disruptive person from the meeting. The City Council cannot discuss or take legal action on any matters during the hearing of the citizens. However, at the conclusion of the hearing from the citizens, individual members of council may respond to criticism made by those who have addressed council, may ask staff to review the matter, or may ask that the matter be put on a future agenda. At this time, if there's anyone in the audience that wishes to address the council, please raise your hand. I'll recognize you, and if you'd step to the podium, give us your name, that time would be yours. Seeing none, move along. Under unfinished business, we have discussion, possible action by City Council pertaining to an agreement between Salt River Project and the Page Fire Department. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor Dyak and members of the council. Yeah, we are going to be discussing again the closure of the Navajo Generating Station and the agreement that Salt River Project has drafted soliciting aid from the fire department. Currently, staff out at the power plant is being redeployed to other facilities. At this time, they have 57 firefighters, 20 support personnel, and 22 EMTs still on their payroll. Monday through Thursday are the days that they have the most fire and medical support, leaving the remainder of the week to where aid may be needed. To backfill the vacant positions, NGS is bringing on contractors. Many of these contractors are operators that have been employed at other power generating facilities and been part of closing numerous coal plants across the country. These contractors that they're hiring have to go through the same level of training and all the safety standards that all their full-time employees do. However, with the contractors coming in, there is a potential for increased incidents that may require assistance from Page Fire Department. Salt River does have a very solid history of what as one of the safest utilities in the country, if not the world, is information that I received from them. And I'd like to cover some of the average emergency response requirements that they face within a year. So as it stands right now, they have about 11 EMS calls a year. There are some of those that Page Fire currently assists with. There's 3 fire calls a year, less than one hazmat call, and less than one TRT, which is a technical rescue call. NGS will continue to maintain all their emergency response and equipment that they have in place out there. As their staffing becomes less, they'll still maintain all that stuff. From the last meeting we had here, we did do an update of the agreement and the fee schedule that was in the attachment for tonight's presentation. And with that, I would entertain any questions you may have regarding this.
Questions?
Looks like you're getting paid for your services now.
It is a little better. There was a few things that got kind of dropped on that first one, and my apologies on that.
I did have one question that I had asked the chief earlier this week when I was reviewing the agenda and stuff, and because the contract is for 1 year, and I noticed that it was $5,000 a year, and I asked him why the PO was for 10, and he said that, told me that SRP did not, they were paying us the $5,000 up front, and that they put an extra $5,000 in there for that period of time so that they wouldn't have to go back to the well to write a new PO each time there might be an incident that they would be billing us for. And I told him, well, now it makes sense to me, so that was the only question I have. Does council have any others? I entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the agreement between Salt River Project Agricultural Improvement and Power District and the Page Fire Department and authorize the mayor to execute the document.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further question or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously of those members present.
Thank you.
Under the consent portion of the agenda, I'd asked for one item to be removed and brought forward. I would like council's indulgence to bring one other item forward, and that is under business from council. I would like to bring a recognition matter forward at this same time. I'm going to start with the proclamation, and then I'll bring the recognition matter forward after the proclamation. Reading the proclamation, United States Navy 243rd anniversary. Recognizing the 243rd birthday of the United States Navy, whereas October 13th, 1775, the Second Continental Congress passed a resolution creating the Continental Navy, and whereas with the end of the American Revolution, the Continental Navy was disbanded under First President George Washington. Threats to the American merchant shipping by Barbary pirates from the fourth North African Muslim states and in the Mediterranean led to the Naval Act of 1794, which created a permanent standing U.S. Navy, whereas the dedicated members of the Navy demonstrate a dynamic spirit of patriotism in support of the seas services and the United States, and whereas the community takes pleasure in recognizing the efforts of those who are fostering and promoting a better understanding of the Navy, Coast Guard, Marine Corps, and the U.S. flag merchant marines, and whereas President Theodore Roosevelt in 1902 encouraged the growth of the Navy on a premise that all good Americans interested in the growth of their country and sensitive to its honors should give hearty support to the policy which the Navy is founded to further. President Roosevelt engaged his unofficial policy to speak softly and carry a big stick, bulked up by the United States Navy, and created the Great White Fleet. Now and therefore it be resolved that the mayor and city council of the city of Page, Arizona do hereby recognize the historic significance of the 243rd anniversary of the United States Navy, dated this 10th day of October 2018. Mayor William R. Dyack. I ask for your blessings in signing that. I don't think we require a motion on that, John? Nope? Okay, thank you. He's our parliamentarian. There's one other item that I would like to bring before the council, because it was on the very, very back end of the agenda, and while we still have a lot of people in the audience, I would like to bring forth a matter to council, and that is, as we had some conversation earlier in our workshop, I would like to bring Larry Clark forward and recognize Larry Clark for his recognition in all the service that he has given us at the corrals and at other things that he has done, for all of our fire hydrants that he has done for us, and all of the special corners that he has done rock work on when we had a beautiful wall, and many other things that are probably he is unnamed for actually doing. With the support of council, and if you will stand with me and recognize Larry Clark, I would like to present him with something at the front of the dais. Larry, would you come forward, please? No, we're going to do it right over there. Larry Clark. Now, we'll let the rest of the council get down here. It's with great pleasure that I and this council give you this brass horse that you won't have to clean up much, but it'll need a little dusting from time to time. With that and this card, we give you our recognition and thanks for many years of service with you. And I think council has the same thoughts as I do. So,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed my time here. I love the city of Page, and sorry to leave, but I'd rather be down with my grandkids.
well, we can understand that, and thank you. The Page logo on there.
How about that? No brand on his hips yet.
No brown on us yet. You can put your own brand down there when you get down there.
Thank
So,
you.
thank you very much, Larry.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Larry. The next item of business on our regular agenda is under new business, discussion, possible action by City Council pertaining to future operations management of Vermilion Cliffs Arena and Corrals. Earlier this evening, we had a workshop where we discussed the regular, the corrals operations and continued operations. I think at that particular time, we felt that council would like more information from staff, some of those things concerning the viability of the financial situation of revenues and expenses, and also the pliability of growing the operation as to what it might be able to do in the future, or whether or not it is a operation that may be waning, and that we need to look at all of those avenues. I think one of the other things that we'd asked about was maybe to ask the Parks and Recreation Board if they could help us in that endeavors, and certainly staff and the Finance Department will probably take an active part in that. Is there any specific direction that council would like to give in certain matters?
I'd like to refer this back to the Park and Rec Board for their evaluation and recommendation on how to proceed with the arena and the corral operation. I think they can focus in a lot deeper and get, since it would probably fall on the purvey of the Recreation Department at some point if it were to continue. I think that board is qualified to deliver that service to us.
Okay. Any other council members have?
Do we want to put something out in the paper or something that we're, looking for?
I think I'd like to let them study the issue and really dig into it and look at all aspects of it. And part of that would be, the management, whether it needs to be brought into the city's rec program and improved, what size. Just, there's a lot of unanswered questions. We can certainly take the lead on it, but I think that they're qualified to do that groundwork for us.
If because of timeliness and October 31st approaching rapidly day by day, is there a way that we might at least entertain interest from parties? We don't necessarily have to move forward with an RFP, but at least if we have somebody in the wings, if we decide to move forward, we've got that much time ahead of us.
We didn't have any background, so I don't know what the October 31st deadline is. Are we losing a manager? I mean, obviously Larry's leaving, but Larry has been volunteering time mostly for upkeep. I mean, what is the need, and how do we fill that, I guess, yeah.
Mayor, Council, if it pleases the council, Mayor and Council, we can pursue an interim for the purpose of some time to allow us to study with the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. I think we have a few candidates that we can speak to that can carry us over till we have some more of a long-term solution, if that pleases the Mayor and Council.
I'm getting a lot of nods. So with that direction to the Recreation Board to vet certain items as to the pliability, and then interest in some financial numbers from the Finance Department. Is that covering all the bases that you need for further direction?
It does, Mayor.
Okay, and I'm asking the Parks and Recreation Board do you feel comfortable with some of that conversation that we've had as what we're giving you direction for?
Yeah, I'm comfortable, and of course, we work at the direction of the council, so if that's what you want, that's what we'll do. And I can just work with Michael and try to figure out what process we can get involved in to produce something.
Okay. All right. I think that's the direction to staff, and I don't think that we need a motion here. We had none requested, but a recommended action has been given and direction. So we'll go that. And I think one of the things is see if we can have something on our next agenda.
We will do our best, Mayor.
All right. Thank you. Next item of business on the regular agenda is discussion, possible action by City Council pertaining to a new service truck for Public Works Department. Kyle.
Good evening, Mayor Dyak, members of the council and public. It's a pleasure to visit with you this evening. What you have before you is a request that was budgeted for a new service truck for the Public Works Department, specifically for the central garage. The Public Works Department included funding in the fiscal 19 budget for a new service truck for the central garage department. The central garage truck will be, as requested, a Ford F-450 4x4 truck chassis to replace a 1995 Ford service truck. Central Garage staff is prepared to undertake recovery of the service bed from that existing truck, so we'll have that bed removed, fixed up, repaired, and installed on the new service truck. The new chassis, we've asked that it be specified to have the ability to tow heavy trailers presently in use by the Public Works Department. And as always, we've requested 3 quotes from reputable Ford dealerships, 2 here in Arizona and 1 in Utah. We requested a quote from Lake Powell Ford, located here in Page, Sanderson Ford from Glendale, Arizona, and Ken Graff St. George Ford of St. George, Utah. As you look on the bid tabulation that's included, and under the quote comparison, you'll see that Sanderson Ford, as always, is coming in as our low bidder on this project, or on this truck, and we'd like to request from the City Council authorization to purchase that truck.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve the purchase of a new public works service truck from Sanderson Ford for a total of $37,341.85.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Only thing I would ask is if we're, since we all pay Arizona taxes, we should be soliciting Arizona vendors. There's a dealer in Flag that probably could suffice for a third bid if you need in the future.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just a notice, and you said in here, you noticed you had put 50 grand out for it, then down here in the fiscal impact, it said 40,000?
Yes, that is a clerical error that I had
Okay.
included in the background information.
It just raises a red flag. Do we really know how much did we put out there for?
40,000 is what's in the line item,
All right.
Councilmember. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second, and seeing no further question, I'll call for the question. All in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye. Aye. Nay? None? Okay. Motion carries unanimously of all of those members present. For the record, we'll show that Councilor Tappan was called away for work this particular time also.
Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion, possible action by City Council pertaining to an update of authorized signers on the city's general and other LGIP accounts. Resolution 121518. I'd entertain a motion to introduce.
Move to introduce. What?
It's not there.
Resolution number
I'll
18-18 by title only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to introduce Resolution 1215-18. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Of those members present, Madam Clerk, would you introduce Resolution 1215-18?
A resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Page, Coconino County, Arizona, amending resolution number 1133-14, updating the names of city personnel authorized to receive notice, deposit public monies, transfer public monies, and manage public monies in the city of Page Local Government Investment Pool, LGIP, accounts.
I move to adopt resolution number 1215-18, updating the signatories on the city's LGIP accounts.
Second.
We have a motion in multiple seconds. Any further question or discussion?
One just question. I believe it was in our last meeting that, I think, Michael, you said that this wasn't necessarily required, the introduction part. Are we practicing something that doesn't have to be the introduction part to this? We introduce and then I think there was a comment, something along those lines. I'm just curious. No?
Councilmember, Mayor, Council, I'm not.
Not
I don't
familiar with
know
that? Okay.
Not on this
All
one.
right. Then, no other questions.
All right. We have a motion and a second on the floor. There being no further questions, call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously of those members present. Discussion possible action by City Council pertaining to rescheduling the regular City Council meetings of December 2018. Due to the Christmas holiday, the December regular City Council meeting needs to be reestablished. Staff recommends that December regular City Council meeting be rescheduled from December 12th and 26th to the following Wednesday, to be moved forward to Wednesday, December 5th from the 12th, and to Wednesday, December 19th from the 26th. And then the rest of that is by Page City Code, we have to have the code,
Week, yep.
within
I move to
7 days.
reschedule the December 2018 regular council meeting to December 5th and December 19th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further question or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously of those members present. Discussion, possible action by City Council pertaining to a special event liquor license for Into the Grand for the 2018 Balloon Regatta Vendor Fair. This time we have a liquor application from Into the Grand to support the Balloon Regatta with a beer garden, and they have named the Circle of Page as their nonprofit to receive 25% of the net for that event, and the Circle of Page has agreed and signed the request for the special liquor license.
Move to approve the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control application for a special event license for Into the Grand Balloon Regatta Vendor Fair.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the question or discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously of those members present. Next item of business is under bids. Discussion possible action by City Council pertaining to award of a bid for pavement resurfacing project fiscal year 2019. Kyle.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council again. During the July 25th, 2018 Page City Council meeting, the council approved the use of the $2.9 million in capital streets projects towards a street and roadway maintenance project addressing streets identified in the pavement assessment study with a 0 to 9 year life expectancy. Public Works undertook the task of researching and identifying approaches that would best support the needs of the community and be the best value for the funding available. Public Works developed a plan that identified about between 17 to 21 miles of pavement surfacing that could be completed for the allotted budget. In conjunction with subject matter experts, the bid package was completed and posted for bid for 2 weeks as required by city code. 3 qualifying bids were received and reviewed by Public Works for accuracy. And staff recommends to the Page City Council the contract for the City of Page pavement surfacing project fiscal year 19 be awarded to VSS International for the amount of $2,729,000. Entertain any questions.
I move to award the City of Page pavement resurfacing project for 2019 to FSS International. That's not F, that's VSS International Channel, Arizona for the amount of $2,729,000 and authorize the mayor to execute the contract. And it's about time.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further question or discussion? Mike?
I just, do we have any past history with this?
Yes, VSS International completed our seals project that we did last fiscal year. They did the type 2 surfacing of our neighborhood, some of our residential streets here in the Bureau District, and they did the type 3 micro surfacing.
They're the ones that did Coppermine Road and some other roads in town already.
And was it good? I mean,
We are satisfied and happy with the product.
the reason I'm asking, I'm looking at your bids, and there's a difference of $2 million on your bids. That's quite a bit.
Well, on that bid particular, yeah, they were considerably high, but when you look at the 2 companies that truly specialize in slurry surfacing, which is American Pavement Preservation and VSS International, you can see that their bids are not terribly too far off.
Oh, I see those two.
So those, with consideration, those are the ones that we, as Public Works, we looked at and made sure that we were getting apples to apples. And, to be that close in a bid this large is.
And I noticed on the maps, do we have those miles mapped out and identified?
Yes. What's included, well, I didn't include this in the previous July meeting. We did include a spreadsheet that identified the streets with probable costs, based on length, width, applications that we thought would be, acceptable for those streets.
And when would they start?
Well, they'll receive the notice of award this evening. They have a representative here in our crowd, and then following the execution of the contract documents, the project clock will start ticking. So within about 10 days, that project will kick off.
Kyle, the presentation included, I believe, 3, maybe 4 different methods for street preservation, all the way from reconstruct up to just crack seal and seal coat. So in the contract, it doesn't identify what treatment. Is that possible to get that?
Absolutely. So generally what we're going to provide, or what the contractor is going to provide, is a micro surfacing, which would be an edge mill close to the curb. Because when we do this overlay, it does add thickness to the surface. They're going to start with a type 2 slurry, a fiberized type 2 slurry, and then do a cape or cap seal with the type 3 surfacing. And that will be applied, the finished surface will be the type 3 surfacing on all roads. There are some roads that don't necessarily require the type 2, the first layer of the type 2, and I can provide that information if the council sees fit.
And then there was a third process called BOMAG. Are we looking to?
We did some evaluations and kind of looked at, the base structure of some of those roads in question, and Date Street was one of those candidates where we looked at doing a full depth reclamation. In discussion with the previous city manager, Ken Buchanan, we talked about that, and under his direction, he said, let's look at just the surfacing aspect of this, and that we can, exclude those streets at this time. And as you can realize, that this only covers about half our residential streets. So, next fiscal year we'll be, requesting additional money to do more streets. And at that time, I think we can address, if we need to do a bull mag on some of those streets, a full depth reclamation. But as we've done this evaluation, we feel that the base material of those streets is not necessarily in question. We're not seeing the base being corrupted by moisture. We're not seeing potholes appearing in large sinkholes and anything like that. So the road surface in general is good. based on the base that the road's built on.
So if the road surface is deteriorated down to the base, you're going to scar that off and then resurface?
Yes, we have included a contingency for patching. We've identified, estimations of what would be, patched back. So we have, solid asphalt material before we do the surface overlay.
On your maps, Kyle, obviously the streets that are highlighted in yellow are getting treatment, correct?
Yes.
But it doesn't, like Mr. Warner said, doesn't specify which treatment yet.
Not necessarily on these maps, but we did provide a unit cost bid schedule to the contractor with what we felt would be appropriate applications for those specific streets, and in consulting with a subject matter expert on that project. If the council recalls, we did attempt to do a cooperative agreement with the city of Scottsdale and to just expedite this process without having to go out for bid. And at that time, we brought in one of the contractors that City of Scottsdale was working with to do a deeper evaluation of the streets and identify from their experience what application would be best applied to these streets. And so that's how we built the bid tabulation, or the bid schedule that we included in the RFP.
I'd love to have a copy of the treatments that are planned, if that's possible.
Absolutely, I can provide that to the
Yeah, now,
council.
you've predetermined, though, what treatment is going to get on what street?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We did that.
Okay. All right, there being no further questions, I want to make one comment before I call for the question, and it's for the public's information. This phase, this is the fiscal year 2019 street paving. It's going to be done in 2 stages. We are getting started in approximately 10 days, and we're going to work until we can no longer work based on the temperature. And then as the temperature comes back up to workability, we're anticipating mid-March, is that correct?
Yes.
That we will complete the project. So it is in 2 phases, so that, in 3 or 4 weeks, you don't see any more streets being done. It's because the temperature's gotten too cold. It's not, well, I didn't get my street done. So just for information to the public on that. Okay. And we can provide you with those streets and some timelines as to how they would go. There be no further questions of council. I will call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously of those members present at council. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
The next item of business is from the mayor. This morning, we rolled out a plan to the community called For Our City page. And we rolled this plan out to citizens, the faith-based organizations within the community, and businesses. And we actually did that with a breakfast para-club to those entities. It was served by the Page Fire Department and the Page Police Department, along with staff with that operation. We had approximately 100 guests there for the presentation. The presentation was made by Mayor Kevin Hartick, and he gave that presentation to the members of the public that were there and businesses, and to staff. I'd like to review that presentation with him, and I saw Rick when I said Mayor-elect Kevin Hartick of Chandler. Rick's going, what? So the event went really, we had a great meal of pancakes, sausage, eggs, bacon, hash browns, 2 different flavors, and a really sweet and wonderful syrup, homemade by Charlene Gustavison. So that was good. So to move through this real quick, flip through the presentation. I'm going to kind of just go over it quickly and stuff. So as you can see, this was called For Our City Page. The presentation went approximately about, I'm going to say 40 minutes, which we had a work session and asked those invited to actually come up with some ideas of how we could make this work in Page. So we'll go through here and this shows bringing our communities together through serving and volunteerism. What this is about is bringing all of the entities that now do volunteerism kind of under an umbrella to work with, rather than working alone or without, and stop duplication, also enhance the ability to reach people and to rejuvenate volunteerism and get more partners involved with it. The reason that this is important is we're looking for ways in our community, and what better ways than to have our citizens and our volunteers and profits be a part of the process. About 2008, it was also something that was actually kind of visible in 2008. It didn't get off the ground right away. There was a kind of a change. The regime back in that era, and this did come forward. Back there, it was reached out to me about the same group, and I looked at, and this was a period of time when we weren't doing a lot. We were cutting staff, we were cutting budgets, and I at that time didn't feel that we had the best environment to make this happen. So we kind of took a pass on that. This next slide shows those in Arizona that are using. The top left there's Chandler, and then we've got Page on the other side, Mesa. We've got some of these, it's hard to tell who they are unless you've got magnifying glasses. City of Nogales, City of Maricopa, City of Sharita, and Sedona, Cottonwood, City of Scottsdale, City of Tempe.
community development as we really think that how we just might get this all figured out. Helping our city, the next slide is helping our city volunteer and project directed for the mayor's office. And most of my fellows occur from a work group. I've made up of those four entities that I talked about that participated in the event. We have been moving projects forward, discussing them prior with the government. What universe might be the best to sit on? And then else. There would be already had a couple projects, I think, that we have live. And so we're in the cover of the expanding a little bit more as we go on. This project area is to maximize overlap of resources and energies. That's what this CRS service is all about. How do we get the best bang for our buck with our employees and partners in the community? This next slide is this CRS survey. This is Canada. It's very different for each city because each city is unique. It doesn't have necessarily the same histories or needs. I think that it was pretty rapidly clear it was going to be built right now.
Operation Back to School Chandler ensures our young students are ready for the school year.
Our employees donated over 600 backpacks filled with supplies, so we are hoping that everybody leaves today with what they need to start school.
It brings all of these people together. Now, it's easy to collaborate when we say, hey, I'll meet you there and we'll do something together, but when you're bringing your money to the table to serve from one big pot, it makes a big difference because it breaks down the walls of my organization did this and my organization did that, and it becomes about the people we serve.
Hundreds of residents gathered together to celebrate For Our City Day to assist with neighborhood projects.
Those projects include painting homes, pulling weeds, painting street addresses on street curbs, and any exterior projects that will improve the property of the neighborhood.
It's an improvement in Chandler because having the front of the house look good makes the neighborhood look good, and it makes you take pride on where you live.
For Our City, Chandler continues to make a difference in our community by serving those in need.
If you really took stock of all the assets in your community,
That's Kevin.
looked at all the volunteer that goes on in your community, you would be amazed. Able to bring these, you can do far more.
Is a clear example of what unity looks like, what unity looks like, relation looks like.
There's so many good things happening under City Chandler, and to be part of rewarding. You get to see the different go into play. Only all those residents, all those neighbors, the community together and helping each other out.
So the was some articles that were written in the newspaper about the joint efforts of all those to come together and what they were able to accomplish and stuff. It is hopes that we will make that happen here. Doing things together, the projects can be bigger, there can be more recognition, and people can see what's happening, and it builds pride in what people are doing. It's getting and working with some of those groups. It's, as you saw in some of the things here, some of those people were the very people you wanted to help that became your leaders. And it's to turn our community around. And as we move forward with our strategic plans and what we would like to accomplish in this, something that we're going to need more of. So I'm glad that this was brought back to the table and that we move forward with it. This next slide here is just the different initiatives that Chandler has going on and different groups. But identified the groups and what they can bring to the table, because so many times resources out there and the information cannot get to the people who needs them. And then some look at resources out there creates a situation of people that will work the system and help that. The next slide shows the best practices that workers of they found were working the best and they were getting the most out of for their community and building pride and ownership. This last slide, I kind of added some things in here, and it talks about what I had mentioned earlier. We had 100 members, 29 initial goals were issues in the city. A duplicate, but majority of them were actually individuals. The next steps would be to point a liaison and invite a strategic group of volunteers to be a part of a group that kind of spirit. Get out there and we start building some of relationships and working with our other faith-based groups, our businesses, nonprofits, and getting some things accomplished. We're going to plan for community events and projects forward with this project. Within the next, this is Mike's word, next 8 days, he's going to have that list vetted and out. It will certainly go out to all of councils, and then where we start these that gave us our contact information today, we may get this ball rolling. I'm excited about it, and I guess I'm taking on another job. So if you have any questions or anything, Dugan, what the overall presentation and the idea behind it?
I was really impressed. I was impressed with the fact that an organized that other communities have adopted and been successful. I'm really impressed by the number of people showed up, the organizations that were represented there, and also the just was really. And when you put that together and you join other minded people, you win. So I think it's really a great venture. It's good.
John?
Yeah, I really like the fact that in other places and this was just a sample. We can actually draw in. I think as we're going to get a lot more people that thought should have been there that will be there, I believe.
Several people come up to me afterwards and said, your steering committee list. Building that group as so these are just graphs of the event itself there. So he's going to go through them quickly so we can get on to our and everybody that, as you can see, Kevin's quite a bit taller than I am. Okay, thanks. Thank you for the technology. Giving me a pointer or a remote. Next item of business is business of the manager. We have none scheduled this evening. From the city attorney, we have none scheduled. The next item under business from the council, we moved forward. The next item is Horseshoe Bend discussion. I would like to go ahead and move to the other three items and get them out of the way. Under boards and commission, we have discussion by city council pertaining to liaison reports. Does anyone have a liaison report this evening?
I do. The park board and the chairman is here, Brian. At the sports complex park, they're exploring ideas on where to provide additional park amenities, a dog park in particular. And the board met and kind of looked at different options. I think the consensus was that they're going to look to perhaps put together some form of a plan at the sports parks annex that would include an area for a dog park for people who want to come and do that. And, is there any other items you want to bring up on that?
No, I think you summarized it well. We talked about 3 different locations, and our next meeting will perhaps throw some further ideas out before we get towards making any recommendations.
Okay. I'd like to add one other thing from Parks and Recreation. Last we had our groundbreaking for the skate park. It was pretty well attended, and I know I'm excited. We had a lot of citizens there that were excited, and actually we were looking for people to put on shovels, so we didn't have to go very far. We leaned across the wall and we commandeered 3 skateboarders and brought them over to be on the shovels. And oh man, and I wish I should have wrote that young man's name down. We had a professional skateboarder from the city of Page that just happened to be home for homecoming, and he spoke at that event. And he says he makes an annual trip back here just to skate Page because he learned skating and he on the hard way, on the equipment that he had. And this young man was 20, I was almost 30, I think. And he was able to enlighten and speak a little bit to the group. And he says, and I know I'm coming back to skate this one. So it was kind of interesting. It went well. And I thank those for you that are out there in the media that attended and helped us get that word out. So, any other liaison reports?
Yeah, I have one from Planning and Zoning. We had a meeting this week, and it was advertised on social media a bit to try to draw some, make sure people were aware of it for the new zoning rewrite. And so we had probably a dozen people from the community show in addition to the board, and voiced a strong opinion about a couple of items which the board's going to take back for rewrite on a couple of specific items. And beyond that, I guess I would say, since it was so widely advertised on social media with only maybe a dozen people showing, I was surprised there weren't more there, because it is a major rewrite of the zoning, almost 40 years in the making, since the last write of the zoning code. So it's moving forward. It's pushed back to planning and zoning for those adjustments on those few items, and we'll have the next meeting October 30th. They pushed it up just so the public knows. October 30th there'll be another stab at the new zoning code. So.
Okay. Any other liaison reports? Then I'll give a quick one on Substance Abuse Task Force. They met, and they are working on getting more activity going with our youths at the school. I'm going to be reaching out, kind of working on that with them and stuff. They also have come up with a grant to give to people that are entering into the field of substance abuse counseling. And you will see that before you at the next council meeting and stuff. So there's some activity going on in all of our different boards. Anything else? Liaisons? Okay. Next item of business under boards and commissions, discussion, possible action by city council pertaining to appointment to Page Utility Enterprise Board. At the last council meeting, we had some discussion as to needing to appoint a party to that, and we also had discussion that we were not meeting our resolution per PUE guidelines as to the appointment. We went out and did our due diligence and posted ads for that position twice, and we got no other takers than the one that we had and stuff. That being said, I need a motion to introduce.
Resolution number 1214-18 by title only.
Second.
We have a motion and multiple seconds to introduce Resolution 1214-18 by title only. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think it's unanimous. All members present. Madam Clerk, would you introduce Resolution 1214-18?
A resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Page, Coconino County, Arizona, making an appointment to the Page Utility Enterprises Board per Chapter 31, City Organizations, Section 31.57, Page Utility Enterprises Boards of the Page, Arizona Code of Ordinances.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution number 1214-18 with Lyle Dinbat being appointed to the Page Utility Enterprises Board for a term ending June 30th, 2019.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously of those members present. Okay. We will make the proper notifications to Mr. Dimbat and have him come in and take his oath. So does he take his oath with us or there? With us?
Excuse me. They have been taking it with the city clerk.
Okay. All right. Departments, discussion by possible action by City Council pertaining to an update of Page Public Works Department. Kyle.
Evening once again, Mayor Dak, members of the Page City Council. Public Works was asked to provide a little bit of an update to the City Council in this meeting. Some of the projects that have been ongoing in the community, and many of them you are well aware of. So I provided a short little brief list there, but I'll start with the Galliard Park ADA bathroom project. As you recall, this project was awarded to F6 Construction, and the contractors at this time nearly complete with all his submittals and acquisitions of products and materials to make this project move forward. He has been given he has signed the contract and provided a notice to proceed with the project, and he's been working with Public Works to complete this project. And we anticipate that there will be a start of that either the latter part of next week or the first part of the following week. As Mayor described and shared about this Page Skate Park, Public Works has been involved with the design input, and now we're at the construction stage. And as many of you have seen, we've gone through and we've removed the vegetation from the site in anticipation of construction. We, as a Public Works, will be supporting Spone Ranch, the skate park contractor, in some of the initial dirt work as far as the rough grading that will occur. We anticipate the contractor to be here on the 17th, so 1 week from today, to begin that work. We're hoping that we have been in communication with the contractor and providing some information beforehand. As you know, Public Works is going to be super busy here in the next 6 to 8 weeks with a lot of other projects going on, and so we're trying to schedule with all our outside contractors and with our normal city commitments to provide those services that are requested of us. So some of the things that we are involved in as the Public Works is the final landscaping. We are going to be involved in the installation of the shade structures, one of the amenities that was excluded from their contract, as well as the drinking fountain, which will be installed. Probably given the time frame, we'll probably install that in the spring, but that will be part of the completion of the project with the landscaping on there. John C. Page Memorial Park improvements. As you're aware of, again, Council awarded the contract to J&J Engineering Construction. This project will be commencing within the week. We've had the contract documents returned, and a notice to proceed has been issued, and we'll actually have a sit-down meeting with the contractor tomorrow to discuss some of the details on how that project's going to work and how we can effectively keep the community center open and available to the public while that project is going on in their parking lot. As you were so gracious this evening, you did award the pavement surfacing project this evening, and as outlined in the contract documents, that project will take place shortly here. As the contract's written, it'll be they have 10 days to return the contract documents, and then a notice to proceed will be issued. And at that time, Public Works, in working with the contractor, will have a better idea of the schedule, and we'll be working with the contractor closely to ensure that we get proper public notification going out get a schedule on what streets are going to be done and how that's going to proceed, and what the neighborhood and the community can expect going forward. And then lastly, Horseshoe Bend Phase 2, which all of you are well aware of, that this is for the parking lot Phase A and Phase B. Public Works has been working with Weddell Gilmore in putting together the bid documents that have been posted for bid. They've had 2 postings. We did have a voluntary pre-bid meeting, and we were pleased to see that we had 5 different contractors show up to that pre-bid meeting, and bids are due next week. So we'll be seeing some numbers, and so you'll see the results of that bid opening coming to you in your next regular council meeting. I'm sure there's a lot of other little projects that are going on, and as you well know, Public Works does a pretty decent job in trying to support all the facilities here in the city of Page and maintain the streets as best we can. So we do appreciate the support the city council has given us recently by approving a lot of the items and agendas that we've been brought before you, and we appreciate that greatly. So,
questions
or comments?
Mayor, members of the council, I asked Kyle to give this report. I think, not on top of what he's just reported, his department's involved in a lot of assistance to other departments at the same time. This is a lean department, and they managed to get the job done. And I just wanted to give some recognition to Kyle and his leadership in that department, as I've been observing that, watching his staff, and I can't tell you how well they work together as a lean main machine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. Claims, we have none scheduled this evening. We have one item of business left on the council's agenda this evening. Executive session. City council may vote to enter into executive session pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute 38-431.03, 1 and 4 and 7 for discussion, the consideration of employment assignment of employee or public body, or discussion and consultation with the city attorney in order to consider its position and instruct the attorney regarding the public body's position regarding contracts that are subject to negotiations and discussion or consultation with the designated representatives of the public body in order to consider its position and instruct the representatives regarding negotiations for sale, lease of real property. Horseshoe Bend. This is an item we have on there, and we've had some ongoing discussions about contract. And we're going to, I'm requesting and asking if we want to go into executive session for further discussion on that this evening. And on our return to the dais, it is possible that we could have discussion or possible actions on that particular item.
Move to go into executive session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go into executive session. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Where it is 7:45, we're going into executive session. We will be returning to the dais where we could have possible discussion and ask action on same. Thank you.